It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Thursday? We do, you do. From the Dixieline Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, we welcome you to our Thursday podcast as we kick off a great sports weekend. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton in studio, along with my co-host broadcasting from left field with his opinions, John Riley. We welcome you to our Thursday get-together. This podcast is brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. You've got projects, they've got materials, you want ideas, they can be your consultant and your best friend. Build it, fix it, guarantee you will enjoy it as we go towards the summer in 2025 at Dixieline Lumber. John Riley, good afternoon. Before we start the program, full disclosure, plain and simple, I am dressing in honor of the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. It had been the Toronto Maple Leafs, I'd be wearing that jersey, but it's not. But I'm rooting for O Canada. But we're going to talk a little bit of hockey here. Just wanted you to know, full disclosure. How you doing? Because, boy, have we got a lot of late-breaking stories, all within about an hour and a half of each other. The whole world changed.
Yeah, plus the OT game and the NHL Finals, Game 1. There'll be a lot to talk about today.
Okay, we're going lots of different directions. Just a couple of reminders. When we are done putting topics on the table, because we do sports talk the way it should be done, we open this podcast up to you. It's called Fans Forum. And, John, for all the new people that are just sampling this, how does Fans Forum work?
Okay, so if you got a comment or question in the world of sports, this is your chance to talk to Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. So, just drop your take in the live chat on Facebook, on X, or on YouTube, and we'll get you involved.
Also want to remind you, if you like sports, please check my website. I write a ton every day. It's there first thing in the morning. Just go to leehacksawhamilton.com. When we're done with this podcast, sample the website and check it every day. Also, on the homepage of the website, there's a big orange box, just like this jersey. The big orange box takes you to Hacksaw's Insiders Group. When you fill out that box, you then get on our email list. We send out 2 emails a day to everybody who's part of the Insiders Group. Want you to follow me on social media. I know you're on X. Everybody's on X. Just type in my handle, @Hacksaw1090. Hit the follow button because I put a lot of stuff up there. Want you to share. Tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30 p.m. Want you to subscribe on YouTube and all the other platforms you can subscribe, because when you do that, then you get the alerts every time we put something up on the YouTube channel, and we load that thing quite often during the course of the week. Want you to give us a thumbs up. That really helps us in terms of support. Give us a 5-star rating because we don't have a hell of a lot of friends. We want you to do that too. John, have I covered it all?
You've covered it all, man. You're a pro, man. Here we go.
Okay, we got a lot to cover, going a lot of different directions because we do cover a lot of different topics on the table. Topic number 1 is
the Padres and the Giants. They're playing the Game 4 right now.
Okay, let's just talk about where the Padres are. Starting this really in the teeth of the schedule road trip so far, pretty good. They won 2 games with late rallies, not hitting very well. Giants beat their brains out in a come-from-behind loss in Game 3 of the playoff series. Now it's the 4th game of the series, but they go from San Francisco, then they go to Milwaukee, then they come back, and guess who they play? You know who, John?
Yeah, the Dodgers.
Beat LA. So it's going to be fun. Let's just bullet point a couple of storylines. Gavin Sheets, just another guy on a street corner that A.J. Preller found. And what a job Victor Rodriguez has done. What a job Gavin Sheets has done in terms of just restructuring his swing and making things better. And at the end of the day, Gavin Sheets has hit his way into the designated hitter spot. Can't play left field very well. Don't think he'll be in left field very much going forward. But at the end of the day, that's a really nice acquisition. That being said, Fernando Tatis, I really firmly believe, is hurt. He's just playing so poorly at home plate, swinging at stuff. His mechanics are out of sync. He hit 184 for the month of May. Yeah, there's an odd home run here or there. He just looks to be a shell of a player right now. Bullpen looks overused, looks burned out. I'm really concerned about that. I'm not sure how they're going to address that situation. And now you got the Xander Bogaerts situation, and this has to come from, I think, violent swings at home plate. He's not hitting real consistency, and now he's tweaked the shoulder that he fractured last year. It's really started to bother him. He's out of the lineup, and I guess we'll get better news as to what the depth of this situation is. Is it a strain? I hope it's nothing more than that for the Padres shortstop, who's played pretty good defense, although he's not hitting what he'd done before. Yu Darvish is not going to go with the team to Milwaukee. He's back in San Diego. He's scheduled to throw an extended bullpen, and he's not really thrown extended max effort bullpens since the one rehab start in El Paso. So this is a critical weekend. Not just how many pitches does he throw. It might be 30 in an up and down session in the bullpen at Petco Park, but what does he feel like the next day? And what does the elbow feel like the second day after? And then what does the elbow feel like when he comes back and then throws the third day after the bullpen? Because that's a regular regimentation, so we have to keep an eye on that. Padres made a decision right before the Giants game. His name was Jay Groom. He was a pitcher that they gotten from the White Sox, Red Sox, got suspended for a full year for doing something stupid while he was in the minor leagues, betting on baseball while he was in the minor leagues. 1 year suspension. Suspension was upped last night. There were about 5 players who were reinstated because they served the 1 year suspension. It's up to the clubs whether they want to keep them. The Padres decided they were not going to re-offer a contract to Jay Groom. He's out on the street corner. He's gone. He had an opportunity here. Obviously, he got caught up what young, stupid guys do in the minor leagues. A whole bunch of them were betting through FanDuel and all these other things on baseball. So he's gone from the Padres situation. So that's all things Padres right now. I'm not so much focused on Padres-Giants as I am on the bigger picture, the black hole in left field. The catchers aren't hitting. The marvelous first half of the season, I think, that Gavin Sheets has had, and obviously the pitching situation, wafer-thin starters, a little bit concerned about burnout in the bullpen. And John Riley says,
interesting couple of things there. Now, number one, the bullpen burnout. Let's talk about that. Because guys like Jason Adam have been getting lit up lately. Morejon's still okay, and then, even Jeremiah Estrada has not been quite as sharp. But you look in the bullpen, who do I see out there that I wonder about is Wandy Peralta. And that dude has not lived up to expectation. And didn't Preller sign him on like a 3 or a 4 year deal?
It's got this year, next year.
Okay, so we got this year and next year left. But that guy has just been awful. And so I'm just wondering if you just cut bait on a guy like that.
But who are you going to replace them with? They have absolutely nothing at AAA. And you can say, well, Lee, they got David Morgan. Well, David Morgan has hardly pitched at the major league level. Yeah, he might have a good inning or so, but he also has given up home runs. He might get lit. They can't go back to Kyle Hart. I mean, he's already given up 10 home runs in like 18 innings for the Padres right now. I don't think he's the answer. He's already back at El Paso. And there's virtually really nothing there. You can hold your breath and hope that Brian Hoying comes off the disabled list. He's just started rehab outings, but that's down road.
Well, who was the guy that started? Was that Ryan Bergert or whatever? Yeah. He actually did pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. But that's one start. He'll get a chance to stay in the rotation, but they just don't have a lot out there to select from.
Yeah, well, Jay Groom, by the way, was supposed to be a really hot prospect at one point. Didn't we get him in that whole Eric Hosmer dump of salary?
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's too bad that didn't work out. But yeah, big dummy betting on baseball.
Yeah, young guy. He did it 4 years ago, then it caught up to him.
Okay. Well, I was just checking the score. 2-0, bottom of the third right now. Padres are up 2-0.
Okay, so that's where we are as it relates to the Padres. The Gavin Sheets story to me is that's mystical in terms of saving his career, restructuring his mechanics. He just looks so different, so much more confident. You can't play him in left field. No, you do need a DH.
He is a stud, man. Yeah. And you see that guy? I mean, he's like built like a freaking brick house. I mean, he's big, he's tall, he's wide shouldered, and yeah, he can mash it. So I'm happy for him to have rediscovered the magic he used to have. And once again, AJ Preller, man, finding, these gems. We need a few more gems. He needs to go hunting for a few more.
Okay, we go from that Padre topic. Next Padre topic on the table is
the trade rumors for the Padres are. Yeah, that's what we're talking. Trade, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about the teams that are out there that they are having conversations with. And we had talked about this early on. We had talked about the Padres and the Red Sox and the story that broke on Monday about Jarren Duran. I think those trade talks have already gone off the table. Now, Duran is outfielder, 274 career hitter, some pop, a lot of speed on the bases. He's put together a good year and a half in Boston. But at the end of the day, there's issues with him off the field. There was mental health issues. There was confidence issues. And so he really struggled. But I don't think that's the reason the Red Sox are shopping him. Red Sox have critical needs. They need pitching. The Red Sox need a first baseman, or the Red Sox need a third baseman. The reason the talks have stalled or may have already ended before they just got started is that Boston said, you want Duran that solves your problem. I want Luis Ariz. And I don't think San Diego is going to do that. And then I was told they wanted access to Michael King. Well, you can't, even if you get Duran, you can't create another hole in an already thin rotation by putting Michael King in there. And I was told that Luis Campusano's name was thrown out there along with other assorted younger prospects. Boston needs players today. Also, now that the word is out that the Bo Sox are shopping Duran, they're getting calls from a lot of other people who probably have different types of resources that can really help them. So I think the Padres are out of the Duran conversations before it ever got started because Boston said, Ariz. That's not going to work. However, other names that are out there, Padres, Pittsburgh. Now, this might not be sexy, but this would fit. It would fit the budget. It would fit the need in the position and would fit because of his career. I'm talking about Andrew McCutchen.
Hey.
Andrew McCutchen wants to finish his career in Pittsburgh. He's very well respected, good clubhouse guy. He's a right-handed version of Jason Hayward. He's hitting better than Jason Hayward. I was told they could get McCutchen on a very low price contract for just a minor leaguer. Keep an eye on that. There's another name in Pittsburgh, Brian Reynolds, outfielder. Now, he's got a bit of a bigger contract. He's had good years. He's had some bad years, etc. But Brian Reynolds might be on the trade block, but the Buccos want pitching. They want guys that are close to being major league ready. I don't know if Preller can afford to make that kind of transaction. White Sox, Luis Robert. I mean, what a mystery. This is a great talent. This guy's got a great glove. He can fly, steals bases, and he just has not hit for 2+ years. Came up and did very well very early. Now, I don't know whether Luis Robert can be your left fielder because he is more of a center fielder, but he's available. But again, you're not going to get him cheap. You're going to have to give up something of significance to get him. But dude is only hitting 177 this year after a really crummy season last year. So his name is out there. The Baltimore name that's surfaced is Cedric Mullins. Now, he could be a walk free agent. That'd be a rental with a chance to re-sign him. Power, runs really well, younger guy, more center field than left field. But if you're a great athlete, I think you should be able to play any of those garden spots. But Cedric Mullins is available. Baltimore has got no pitching at all right now. And again, that falls back to the issue with the Padres. Who have they got they can trade from the mound? That's another issue. And the fourth one is unique because I liked this guy before. And I had mentioned years ago on this podcast, why not take a flyer on this guy? Harrison Bader. Flies. He runs everywhere. Good glove. A little bit of pop. Dude does not hit 177. He might be available in Minnesota, although Minnesota's in a pennant race, but he's not the star with the Minnesota Twins, but he might be out there for something else. So that's where the Padres are right now. I've been told the Duran thing is off the table. I think the Pittsburgh thing is really got potential. And again, that's short-term Andrew McCutchen rental, but you just need somebody to fill it and do a good job there. And McCutchen's a really good clubhouse guy, kind of like Jason Hayward. So, John, they threw a lot of names up there on the board. You wouldn't trade a rise to go get Duran, would you?
No, not at all. But there's some interesting names on that list. I mean, the first, you got to go to the White Sox. Those trades with the White Sox have worked out really well for the Padres. But isn't Luis Robert making like a ton of money?
Yep.
So I don't know if we could afford a guy like that. Same thing with Andrew McCutchen, But by the way, you ever notice that Andrew McCutchen, I haven't been able to completely figure this out yet, but his body proportions are slightly different than a lot of other athletes. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, he's muscular.
Well, he's strong, but it's like his torso is like a little bit shorter, relative to the length of his legs or something like that.
The word of the day is compact.
Yeah, he is compact. And then the other name on there that you mentioned was that Harrison Bader, because I remember him with the Cardinals and I think the Yankees.
Yes.
I didn't even know he was in Minnesota.
Yeah, he went there this past offseason. He kind of moved around. I think he can play every day. He did play every day, but he got hurt and then came back. But again, he's not going to scare you, but he's reliable. He's a younger version of what McCutchen has become. So that's where we are now. A little bit disappointed about the Duran situation, but when a Boston guy told me, no, they want to rise. No, that's not going to work. Not in San Diego's standpoint. Because now you're going to get a left fielder and create a hole at first base.
A rise at Fenway. I mean, he could get kind of clever there with the Green Monster. I can see why they might want him.
Oh, he'd be slapping the ball all over the joint.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where we are. I don't think that trade is going to come down. So that's all things Padre baseball as it relates to the trades. You're a Padre fan. Feel free. Join us. Fans Forum chat box is open of those names that we mentioned. I want you to respond to today's hot topic. You wouldn't trade a rise, would you? If you put Camposano in a deal, I don't know how much market value he's got. Somebody else has got to be put in the deal. Who else is going in the deal? So Padre fans, Fans Forum chat box is open. You're hitting leadoff. This is the hot topic on the table. Feel free to jump on board, give us a question, make a statement. We are not done with baseball. Next topic.
Okay, the MLB notebook.
Let's talk about the commissioner, Rob Manfred. Rob Manfred has just announced that the competition committee is now prepared to vote on the automatic balls and strike robo-ump situation.
Cool.
They experimented in spring training. Most everybody liked it. 52% of the calls that were challenged in spring training overruled the umpire, which means you're getting the play correct. Sorry, I don't mean to hurt the feelings of all these guys wearing blue behind home plate. Do a damn better job, and you haven't done a damn better job because the strike zone's always moving, and now we're going to have a vote. Now, it's interesting. It is an 11-member committee. 6 of the 11 are management people. There are 4 players and 1 umpire on the 11-member competition committee. This thing's a slam dunk.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just majority.
Oh, yeah.
Out of 11 votes. And the fact that 6 of them are management people, be it a field manager, be it a general manager, be it a team president, we don't know who they are. I think it's going to be approved. I think we're going to have the automated ball strike count, ABS it's called, next year. What they've not decided is who's going to have the power to make the call. During spring training, you didn't like the call at home plate, you'd be doing this.
Yeah.
And they'd stop the Cactus League and Grapefruit Circuit game, and they'd review it. They haven't decided whether the pitcher has a right to call it, the catcher has a right to call it, the batter has a right to call it, or whether the call has to come from the manager. And John, you get 2 challenges. Now, if you get the first challenge right, you retain that challenge you got right, which means you still have 2. But if you lose the first one, you have only 1 left. You lose the second one, you're done. So, I mean, there's some mechanics that they have not yet solved. So that's the latest with Rob Manfred. Dodgers. I don't understand how they're hanging on to first place. I mean, they just have no pitching at all. They've had 17 pitchers now on the disabled list this year. Tyler Glasnow has now thrown 2 bullpens. He, of course, was shut down because He had problems with his mechanics, and he had shoulder issue. Now he's thrown, and he's got back tightness. He says it's not a major thing. He says his arm is fine. It's a back tightness thing. But, John, every time they try to change his mechanics, something else in the system goes awry.
Yeah.
And they can't figure it out. And he's so big at 6'7", and he throws with such oomph, such velocity. I mean, it's a real hard call as to what kind of motion mechanics he has to have, because they changed his mechanics in the offseason into the spring because he kept having elbow problems and forearm problems. And then he had shoulder problems because they changed his mechanics. Now they shut him down, and they've tried to rework the mechanics again. He calls it his athletics, to try to rework the mechanics in it. Now he's got a tightness in his back just because of how he's throwing it. I mean, it's a real mixed bag of stories there. Next topic. You know who? Yokohama Baystars. Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, here we go.
Trevor Bauer, 20-4 in Japan and Mexico. He's bounced back. He's thrown 3 straight victories. For that, he still wants to come pitch in the States. Off the field, he stayed off social media. Off the field, he settled, supposedly, the lawsuits, sexual misconduct and all that junk, up until this week. Now a judge in San Diego has ruled the woman who filed all the charges against him for sexual misconduct violated the agreement of confidentiality, and she has to pay him $320,000 because she went on a podcast and 22 times violated the, quote, non-disclosure agreement.
Good.
So now Trevor Bauer is going to get $320,000 supposedly from this woman. That being said, the guy still wants to pitch. And here we are, years removed from the discipline and the junk that he got himself involved in, and he doesn't get any phone calls from anybody. And half the world needs pitching. Everybody needs pitching, including here in San Diego. Just absolutely amazing. TV Guide, nice logo. TV ratings, John, going through the roof.
Nice.
April, May TV ratings have really taken a huge jump. ESPN's ratings, Sunday Night Baseball, up 22%. Fox's TV ratings, up 17%. TV ratings in Japan, all hours of the day and night, up 27% from last year. Obviously, it's the Otani factor, it's the Shoto Imanaga factor, it's all these other players from Japan here. I mean, it's absolutely amazing what's transpired in terms of TV ratings in April and in May. And by the way, the Dodger-Yankee game last Sunday night, 3.1 million viewers on Sunday Night Baseball.
Awesome.
That's pretty cool. Miami. I saw a picture of this. I couldn't believe it. Miami hosted Colorado. Now, I grant you, we're not talking about pennant contenders here. They played them the other night. At first pitch in Miami, in the Marlins home game, the media counted 137 fans sitting behind home plate in all the most expensive seats. 137 people. And they only drew 5,900 for the game.
Unbelievable.
Marlins Rockies. I grant you they're not pennant contenders, but nobody cares about baseball in Miami. Everybody's pissed off about baseball in Colorado. What a disaster. And by the way, speaking of, how do you like outside baseball in the hot weather in Sacramento? Here comes summer with a team that can't win. The Oakland Sacramento Athletics have now lost 20 of their last 21 games. The Athletics are 9-22 at home. Do you regret spending all that big money to buy season tickets for the Athletics in Sacramento in a minor league park in hot weather to see them lose? 9-22 at home. What a disaster. I feel bad for Mark Kotsay, but he's got such a young team, and they played well last year, not playing well now. I mean, we're sitting there at 1-20 since early May.
Brutal.
Wow. Okay, John, that's from the Baseball Notebook. You're not going to berate the umpires, are you? You're going to damn them. Go ahead.
Well, I have comments on a lot of these things here. First of all, the vote, it's going to be 10-1. Okay. It's going to be all the front office people and the players are going to be 10, and the one umpire is going to be 1. And we're going to get finally the ABS system, which I think is so long overdue. Now, did you see that it was a game like last week and some player did this?
Yeah, Tampa Bay player got a really bogus call and he barked at the umpire, and then he struck out on the next pitch. And as he's walking, he looks at the umpire and says, and the guy threw him out of the game.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So now I'll tell you what, if I were, king of the world here, this is how I would do it. It doesn't make sense really for the manager to be the one to call it, because they can't see it. They have to depend on someone else. I would give one, challenge per at bat, because in the spring training, they did it very quickly. The pace of the game didn't really slow much at all. And I would give the catcher and the batter each 1 per at bat. And I think that would work out really well, because they had 1 per at bat in spring training. And I think it was only the pitcher, only the hitter that had a chance to call it, and it worked.
So you would allow an instant replay challenge for every guy that comes to the plate?
Yes. Well, they did it in spring training, and I saw no interruption. The flow of the game still worked. Just get the darn thing right. I mean, if you just get 2 a game, there's 20 of them a game that happen. So we need to address them all. Just going down the list here, Trevor Bauer would be a perfect pickup, and he's innocent, right?
Well, he's not innocent of being stupid.
Well, yeah. There's a million ball players that are stupid, but he's innocent of the original charges of whatever, went down. And then, by the way, the fact that this woman is clear that she was a gold digger. It's clear that she has low character. And so it's good. I like the fact that she has to pay Bauer, which I think is funny.
She violated the agreement 22 times on a podcast.
Yeah. That's stupid. Okay. And isn't she linked here to the baseball community in San Diego? I think she's the daughter of a coach at USD or something like that.
The daughter of the former head coach at USD, and she worked for the Padres.
Unbelievable.
Back in the day.
Now, by the way, I love the fact that you have a TV Guide logo up there. Who uses TV Guide anymore?
Old school.
Yeah, that was like a religious experience every time. And I'm looking at all the sports. They always had like a sports section. But I think it's fantastic that the numbers are up. I think baseball is coming back. And for me as a fan, I love the fact that every day there's a Padre game, and it's like my grandmother when she watched the soap operas every day. It's like a storyline that just kind of continues to unfold. It's reality TV for sports fans, and I think it's fantastic. So I'm happy for baseball. The Marlins thing with all the players, all the fans, very few of them there, reminds me of the days we had that at Candlestick Park with the Giants for a short period of time. And for the A's in Oakland, they've had moments like that when there have been less than 1,000 people that have attended.
137 people sitting behind home plate in the most expensive seats in the park in a new stadium in Miami.
And they got swept by the Rockies.
Yeah, of all people. All right, that's all things baseball.
Yeah.
You got an opinion, feel free. Jump on board. You like the idea of the automated ump? Hop on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. Next topic on the table before we get to halftime.
Yeah, the NBA Finals start tonight.
Here we go. We got Oklahoma City. We got Indiana. This is going to be fun. This is the Thunder team. The average age of the Oklahoma roster is 24. Think about that.
Wow.
All these young guys led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They've got phenomenal athletes, suffocating defense, not afraid to run, push the tempo, shooting lots of threes, and got some gritty veterans like Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein. I don't know how deep Indiana is right now. Everybody in the Eastern Conference plays a different style of basketball. They beat on each other. I just don't know that Indiana can stay up with all the stuff that Oklahoma City throws at you. There's no doubt that Pascal Siakam is just a great player. And there's no doubt that Halliburton has big nights, but he's a little bit streaky based on what the defense does to him. I just don't know that Indiana has really enough. I think OKC's going to win this thing in 5 games when we find out game 1 underway. Let's talk about the Knickerbockers. Shocking. the decision to hit the eject button on Tom Thibodeau after years of 50 and 51 wins. He took them where they had not been, the chance to go to the finals for the first time in 44 years in the series against Indiana before they finally got beat. All kinds of insinuations that this was mandated by the rich man owner, James Dolan. It was not done by the president of the team, the general manager, Lon Rosen. They kind of deny that. They're reaching for a lot of different ideas as to who to go hire. I thought it was a hodgepodge roster. I was told the reason that Thibodeau got to the end of the road is that he was just flat out stubborn.
Yeah.
I'm the coach. Don't tell me about my rotation. Don't tell me about my roster. You gave me this roster, and I'm going to play who I want to play, how I want to play them. He had virtually no bench. He mandated his guys, his 5 starters, and maybe their 6th man. They'd play 42 to 48 minutes virtually every game. And he did it during the course of the season, too. That's the reason I think they hit the eject button. But this guy won 50 and 51 games on a franchise that had had no success dating back to the Patrick Ewing era. I mean, I was shocked. Who are they talking to? Another guy who's a defensive specialist. But he lost his team emotionally in Denver. Talking to Mike Malone, ex-Denver Nugget coach. They also want to talk to the guy that just got fired in Phoenix, Mike Budenholzer. He had been in Milwaukee, had success, defensive guy. But last I checked, the Phoenix Suns quit on him. They went 36 and 46. So I don't know where the Knicks are going to go. Interesting story that broke in the early morning hours today. It's being reported in New York that the Knickerbockers approached Rick Pitino at St. John's. Pitino's close to Thibodeau. He told the Knicks, I'm not interested. They also have approached a couple of other people, including Dan Hurley, UConn. Dan Hurley, close to Thibodeau. I'm not talking to you, what you did to my friend. Very interesting. That Knicks situation remains to be seen. Milwaukee Bucks. These trade offers for Giannis are pouring in. He has not publicly stated that he wants out of Milwaukee, but the general consensus is he does not want to be part of a painful rebuild, and that's where the Bucks are probably right now, about to embark in a total rebuild in the 414 area code. There is a report as of today that the Toronto Raptors are really interested in Giannis. And they have a lottery pick. They have a plethora of young players led by a really good young star in Scotty Barnes. They've got a bunch of veteran guys like Kyle Kuzma because they're going to have to throw money, expiring contracts into this thing. And they got multiple picks for years to come. So I heard Giannis to Toronto has some validity. But I keep hearing Houston, which has got a ton of draft capital and a lot of young guys, and is looking for a veteran player to anchor this very young roster that the Rockets have, that Houston might be a player there. Phoenix, we're waiting to see if Giannis goes, and then we're waiting to see where Kevin Durant winds up. And the general consensus is Durant is out of there, and he wants out of there, and he doesn't want to be part of what's been a lot of upheaval under the new ownership. This is really interesting because he would fit San Antonio, and the Spurs have draft capital. The rumor is that San Antonio would trade one of their first-round picks, not the real high one, but later first-round pick, plus Harrison Barnes, plus another one of their young guards, Dirk Vessel, who's a really good player, and throw some future picks in there, maybe to get Kevin Durant. Durant with Wemby, Stephon Castle, and De'Aaron Fox, that's pretty good foursome. And the Spurs are going to have that very, very high number 1 draft picks up. San Antonio, that could be worth watching there. And the last one is in Boston. And it's hard to believe a year ago this week, John, we're talking about the Celtics, NBA Finals, about to get the ring. They're talking about breaking up the team. Now, they don't have Jason Tatum because of the catastrophic Achilles injury next year. And they've got monster salary cap and luxury tax problems. And the rumor is they might trade Jaylen Brown, who's their second star to Jason Tatum. And it'd be a big package deal. But they've got to get out from underneath the salary cap and the luxury tax implications of their payrolls, like, could be like $500 million if they were to keep everybody, and they just can't live with that. So something's going to happen in Boston. And the rumor was Jaylen Brown or Derek White and Jrue Holiday. Two of those three are probably going to be out of there. So, John, that's a look at the notebook. Don't shoot air balls. I mean, hit a three-point shot. Have some validity here if you've got some opinions on Oak City in Indiana. You want to talk about the Knickerbockers? Go ahead.
I'm looking forward to this NBA final. And and it's interesting to me because sometimes in these NBA finals, I don't really care much about the teams. But this is kind of interesting. Both these teams are young, they're dynamic, they've got these new superstars, and I'm learning about some of these, some of these OKC players that are actually really good. And even, Tyrese Halliburton, I didn't know much about him at all until he showed up in Indiana. Where did he go? Like Iowa State or something?
Yeah, he came from the Sacramento Kings in a trade.
Well, so did GILGEOU-ALEXANDER.
Yeah.
He came from the Clippers in a trade. So all these guys were sort of like in the shadow, and now they're in the spotlight. And I think that's really cool. So I'm looking forward to that. But talking about the Suns and Kevin Durant, how old is that guy?
He'll be 36, I believe.
He's got to be one of the oldest guys in the league, other than like Al Horford or something.
Yeah, still plays really, really well, but he's got a lot of miles on him, but he wants out.
Now, other than the championship he won with the Warriors, has he ever won an NBA Finals?
Well, he was part of the cornerstones of the original Oklahoma City franchise, the Russell Westbrook era, and they were really good.
But did they win it?
Yeah. And then the whole thing unraveled, and they all got old, or they traded.
So he
away.
has 2 rings.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's where we are there. All things NBA basketball. Feel free, jump on board. Your comments are invited. Fans Forum chat box is open for business. Hey, we get to halftime, our Thursday podcast, kicking off great sports weekend. This podcast is brought to you by Dixie Line Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. Kitchen counters, bathroom renovation, you name it, they do it. People think Dixie Line, well, all they do is sell lumber. Well, that's not quite the case. John, just talk about Dixie Line in the kitchen, Dixie Line in the bathroom, and the Solana Beach display store.
Oh, yeah. I mean, check out these images here. Really nice cabinetry that you can get at Dixie Line if you want to upgrade your kitchen or your bathroom. And they've got designers that are available there to help you out. But Dixie Line's terrific. Been in San Diego for over 100 years. And if you go to all of the home centers, there's 9 stores, plus the new lumberyard that's opening up in Dana Point. They all have kitchen and bath specialists that are there that can help you kind of plan out your kitchen. They'll help you with the measurements. They'll recommend the right kind of cabinets. But if you are, let's just say, a very wealthy individual and you are looking for some of these really high-end kitchen countertops and cabinetry, maybe some of the European faucetry, you want to see some of that sort of deluxe stuff, go to the Design Studio in Solana Beach. And it's right next door to the Dixie Line Lumber and Home Center. And there they've got interior designers that are really set you up. So Dixie Line, man, like you said, you think of them as a lumberyard, but boy, they do all these great things for homeowners and for contractors.
I'd just recommend this. Go to dixieline.com and just see all the different things they have to offer. Build it, fix it. Guarantee you will enjoy it in 2025, thanks to Dixie Line Lumber. We are at halftime. Just a couple of notes. When we are done with this podcast, because we do sports talk the way it should be done, we open up to you, the fans, to ask questions, make statements, take shots if you must. It's called Fans Forum. John, how does that work?
Yeah, take shots if you must. Were you wearing your Oilers jersey? I'm sure you're going to be getting some shots. So, yeah, we got a bunch of guys that are all piling in. I see Gary, I see John, I see Callan, a lot of longtime friends there. So, hey, if you're a new person, you haven't been involved in Fans Forum, this is your chance to get involved. If you got a question or comment in the world of sports, maybe you have a hot take, maybe you disagree with this guy, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, just drop your comment in the live chat on Facebook, X, or YouTube. We'll get you involved.
Okay. In addition, if you like sports, check my website. It's all written, leehacksawhamilton.com. It's there first thing every morning. Absolute ton of information day in, day out. Want you to join Hacksaw's Insiders Group. You can do that just by registering on the homepage of my website. When you do that, you get on the email list because we send out emails twice a day for all the sports fans that are part of the Insiders Group. At the same time, want you to share, tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Want you to subscribe. When you subscribe, then you get the alerts Every time we put something new up on the YouTube channel, in addition to the podcast, we do that quite often. You'll also get those alerts. You're on social media. I want you to become part of my Twitter all-star team. You, me, and Elon Musk, etc. Just type in my handle at Hacksaw1090. Hit the follow button. Every time we put something up, you'll have that opportunity. Looks like we got a camera glitch there. We're kind of frozen again. We have some technology here, issues that sometimes come and go. But there's an awful lot of stuff here that we make available in addition to doing the podcast Mondays and Thursdays. John, you ready for the second half?
Okay, I am. Yeah, we are kind of glitchy right now. I don't know what's going on. Well, anyways, I just want to make a comment about your best 15 minutes in sports, which is on the website, which is in one of the emails that we send out each day. That's freaking awesome. I mean, it really is. And I'm not just blowing smoke. I mean, I remember as a kid, I would sit down at my breakfast table with a bowl of cereal and the sports section. And man, I would go through that. I'd study the box scores. I'd go through the Giants or the A's game the night before, and I'd read all the data. And I would love to see like the stack ranking of the batting statistics leaders and home run leaders. And generally speaking, you've got a full sports section that's really condensed and bullet pointed and easy to read in your best 15 minutes of sports. You can read it in less than 15 minutes and know everything that you need to know. And it's remarkable.
You're right. I am bleeping brilliant.
It is. It's amazing.
But check it out, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. I've had the website for, 14 years. It's just absolutely amazing. It is a labor of love. It does not happen in 15 minutes. It takes me a long period of time. And when I first started sending my Hacksaw's headlines of the best 15 minutes to John so he could create this page that we have that we send out to the insiders group, he said, I can't believe it. And then he started to send it to the followers who joined the insiders group, and that was the exact same thing that they were saying. I can't believe how much volume information.
It's incredible. It really is.
You're all right. I'm bleeping brilliant.
Yeah, you are.
Fix the damn camera, though,
I don't
John.
know what's going on. It's like glitchy. It's weird. I don't know.
John's got one camera here that does not work. Okay, let's go from that. We move to the second half. We got a lot of topics here vis-a-vis pro football.
Okay, let's talk about the NFL.
NFL is saying goodbye to one of the purple people eaters. You remember the Bud Grant Minnesota Vikings back in the day? Jim Marshall, unbelievable defensive end, has passed away at the age of 87. Now, they did not record quarterback sacks early in his career. When they put that in and they came up with a formula, at the end of the day, they would have had Jim Marshall responsible for 130 quarterback sacks over the course of his career. He played 18 years in the National Football League. He started 282 games in a row. The guy was spectacular, and he was there all the time. Purple people leaders. Jim Marshall passes away, Hall of Famer, spectacular player. Philadelphia Eagles. It's really interesting. The ones with the Super Bowl rings, the topic of conversation in the Eagles OTA workouts is not the roster that they have. It's not about how good they're going to be. There's so much coverage about why Nick Sirianni would let so many veteran guys go off this roster. They have 8 guys who are really integral parts of all the things the Eagles accomplished in the Super Bowl season gone from the roster. That's really surprising, and he's taken a lot of heat for Milton Williams and Josh Sweet leaving and letting Darius Slay go and letting Mikael Becton go to the Chargers. So that's a really interesting story there. Pittsburgh, they have not had a good quarterback since Ben was there. Ben retired, and then it became a rent-a-quarterback situation. They have a quarterback as of this hour. Aaron Rodgers informed the Steelers Thursday he's coming to camp. He will be at the Veterans OTA workouts next week in Pittsburgh. I mean, this is a guy that had phenomenal statistics in Green Bay. Obviously a dynamic, diverse personality. Went to the New York Jets, got hurt, didn't play real well, wasn't surrounded by real good talent. I still tend to think he's got bullets left in the gun, and now he is going to Pittsburgh. where he is going to be surrounded by a team that pounds the football, a team that's got 2 tight ends they throw to, team that's got still a couple of wide receivers led by DK Metcalf, who just came, and a team that's got a brilliant defense. I think the most fascinating thing for me going forward with Aaron Rodgers will be the relationship, great veteran quarterback, and by the way, I still think he's got gas left in the tank, the relationship of that quarterback to the head coach and the offensive coordinator. And I'd say I used these words prior. Wherever he was going to land, would it be Aaron Rodgers' team or would it be Mike Tomlin's team? Because we know item 1, they're going to play great defense. Thank you, TJ Watt and all those guys. Item 2, they're going to pound the football. Item 3, they will throw. Well, Rodgers will throw, will complete passes, will be protected, but he won't be asked to throw 45 times a game. So it's going to be fascinating to see that relationship, because I would just be safe in saying that dude's got a big arm and dude's got a big mouth and dude's got a big ego, and dude's in Pittsburgh now. They got to really be happy, because I'd take Aaron Rodgers over last year's rentals, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and Aaron Rodgers over the prior year quarterbacks, Kenny Pickett, etc. Like I say, Big Ben, that was a while ago. At least this year, they'll have themselves a star that was kind of equal to what Big Ben Roethlisberger used to be. By the way, a bad note in Pittsburgh. And I thought this guy was going to blossom. Former Chargers tight end Donald Parham, gone for the year, ruptured Achilles tendon yesterday in the Steeler camp. That's a big setback. He's a good player. He just can't get out from the injury hex. Speaking of that, this is not good news in Indianapolis. The number 1 draft pick, Anthony Richardson, who has struggled for 2 years with productivity, consistency, and health, down again. Re-injured the shoulder joint that knocked him out for half of last season.
Oh, God.
Daniel Jones, the ex-New York Giant, now obviously is going to move to the forefront to probably be the guy. Denver Broncos, Sean Payton, they're not done looking for a running back. The Denver Broncos meeting today with J.K. Dobbins, the ex-Charger, ex-Baltimore Raven. I think good player. Has a tough time staying healthy, but he's powerful and he's got an extra burst. They're also talking to Nick Chubb, the heavy-duty running back, who I thought had a really great career with the Cleveland Browns. Chubb's had 2 knee injuries. Browns are not bringing him back, but that guy's got like 6,300 yards in his career running the football and 51 touchdowns. So they're going to sign one of them. I tend to think it's probably going to be Dobbins rather than Chubb, but the Broncos are looking at both those guys. And the final topic, New Orleans. We talked about Derek Carr retiring a week ago. And now we find out Derek Carr has this chronic shoulder issue, the labrum, a degenerative rotator cuff. They talked about surgery, and he's just gone through a real tough time in a bad situation. Team's kind of falling apart around him. He just elected to retire. Well, he finally spoke out today and said, I am retiring because I didn't want to spend the entire year on IR and take $30 million. And I didn't want to spend the entire year on IR, and if we elected to have surgery and not know whether I could ever play again and take the $30 million. He just decided I'll step away because of my career and I'm all beat up, and I'll give them that $30 million off my contract so they have cap space. He's a really interesting, kind of classy kind of guy. He's walking away from $30 million rather than just hang around on the IR list to collect it for another year. So, John, you got the Purple People Eaters, you got the new quarterback in Pittsburgh, the loss of the quarterback in Indy, all things running backs in Denver, and Derek Carr. Go ahead.
Jim Marshall, man. And that guy's a Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah, him and Alan Page.
Yeah. Didn't Alan Page become like a judge or something like that?
Very influential guy.
Yeah. And the Jim Marshall thing is that I always remember is that when he was playing the 49ers in Kezar Stadium and Jim Marshall ran the wrong way.
Wrong way, Marshall.
Yeah.
With intercepted pass.
But if you go back to Super Bowl 10, with the one the Raiders won, it was against Marshall and Page and the Purple People Eaters there in the mid-70s. So that was a special time. You know, for the Steelers, you had mentioned, I think, was it in the best 15 or maybe in one of our previous podcasts, that Kenny Pickett's career record as a starter was 15-10. And if that's true, How, or did I misread that?
No, I don't think it was 15-10. It might have been some other quarterback.
Okay. Maybe I misread that because I was thinking, God, if he really was 15-10, why did Pittsburgh get rid of him? But I don't know. I just think that's just going to be like another sort of a soap opera in Pittsburgh. I can see this thing going south and getting ugly, kind of like how Musk and Trump are getting ugly, so here we go.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers, with a good situation around him, is going to make enough plays to really keep Pittsburgh dangerous. I couldn't see an aging Russell Wilson with injuries or a highly erratic, young, mistake-prone Justin Fields doing that. And with apologies in advance because of Oklahoma blood in your system, I couldn't see Mason Rudolph doing that.
Yeah.
So, I think they'll be more competitive. Now, soap opera, I'd have a tough time thinking that Mike Tomlin would be tuning into anything that's got soap opera attached to it. His team, his program, his system. Rodgers, I think, will have to accede to the head coach and the way they want to play Steeler football. No?
But remember when he was on the Jets and he would just be rolling his eyes and really disrespecting the coaching staff, especially when he wasn't playing. So I just think this is going to be a crazy situation there. I mean, and you sign Aaron Rodgers, you're going to get all that junk as part of it.
Yeah, but maybe you don't get the junk because it's Mike Tomlin.
I don't
put the
know.
thumb down.
Well, yeah, we're going to find out who's going to win that grudge match. The Saints thing, Derek Carr, I mean, I get it where, it's cool that he's not taking his salary because he doesn't feel like he deserves it, but he's signed a contract. And so therefore he does deserve it. I don't know. I just think he's taking one for the team that he really shouldn't have to take. I mean, after all, the owner of the Saints is a billionaire. I mean, this is his contract. He signed the deal. And according to the letter of the law, he's owed that money.
There's sure a lot of good traits that you have, but being a capitalist is not one of them all the time.
Hey, just stick to the contract, and I think we're good.
Okay. Steeler fans forum chat box is open. Raise that Iron City beer. Go to the chat box, like or dislike Aaron Rodgers to Pittsburgh because it's going to be a done deal. I'm fascinated by this. Now, suddenly, the wife's going to be wanting to go to the bar and watch all these Steeler games all the time.
Yeah.
So that's all things NFL. We move on. Next topic on the table, Hockey Hotline open for business.
Hockey Hotline. Here we go. And the Stanley Cup Finals, Game 1 was awesome.
I told you so.
Yeah.
Did you like the way they sing "O Canada" at the Edmonton games in the stands?
Oh, that's fantastic.
They had the opera singer surrounded by everybody wearing one of these.
Yeah.
Singing "O Canada." Oh, it's just...
Well, he kicks it off and he goes like a verse and then he backs out and then the whole arena takes over.
Yeah, it is so cool.
Yeah, it is.
And they came out and they scored, the Oilers, scored 66 seconds into the first period. I thought they were going to blow the roof off the Coliseum. But Florida came back. And Florida took a 3-1 lead, I thought, and it got really quiet in there. But as long as there's time left on the clock, Edmonton is so dangerous. And at the end of the day, and I sat there and watched the whole thing intently. And at the end of the day, the Oilers beat the Florida Panthers at their own game. Edmonton came out early in the third period down 3-1, and they hit everything that was wearing a white jersey. And they hit them, they forechecked them into the boards. They hit them in their own end. They cleared the traffic in front of the net. And the Oilers came back and scored 2 goals and tied the game at 3-3. And then they won it in overtime. Leon Draisaitl, who scored 66 seconds into the first period, scored the game winner in overtime on a razor-thin cross-the-slot pass from Connor McDavid. That's a huge win. Now, series over? Hell no. Because I'll tell you, now, Florida got beat at their own game. Florida's whole game is I'm forechecking you into the parking lot. I'm going to screw you up. You can't get your offense going. But they got out-hit. And Edmonton had 47 shots on Sergei Bobrovsky, which is an amazing amount considering how physical the Florida Panthers play in front of him. Oh, great. I just thought, I thought it was a great, great series. And you sitting there drinking your Molson's Canadian, what'd you think?
Well, like you said, the opening, the national anthem, they bring out the Stanley Cup there out on the ice and all that. it's just great theater. And you just love seeing the Edmonton fans. They're all fired up. Now, here's a technical question, because I know in hockey you have multiple lines, right? Like
Right.
3, maybe 4.
4 lines, 12 forwards.
Okay. So but they will intermingle some of those lines at times, right? It's not like a strict thing.
For the most part, the 3 are together. McDavid, Draisaitl's line, that's your pairing. And then they'll have the second line that'll probably have the big goal scorer, Evander Kane, etc. Sometimes you interchange them. But what Edmonton does, what Chris Knobloch, the coach, does, is he'll short shift the second and third line so he can get McDavid and Draisaitl back on the ice in matchups that they want. Because when this thing starts, here's Edmonton's number 1 line, and Florida's going to throw their checkers out there. So McDavid and Draisaitl and those guys, they do their minute 45-second shift. They come off, second line comes on. And if it's crunch time later in the game, after that second line does its shift, Knobloch might turn around and send McDavid back out there. And then sometimes Florida gets caught with the wrong matchups on the ice. You don't want to have that happen when McDavid's on the ice, when he gets that sucker cranked up coming out of his zone and roaring through center ice. The game is big, the game is fast, the game is physical, but the game is also a chess match.
Oh, yeah.
Try to create the mismatches in certain lines. So that's a great hockey question in terms of how they do what they do. Well,
to go a step further with it, when you have 3 guys on a line, do they play the role of like a center and 2 wings? And is the center like a point guard that distributes, or do they just work cooperatively, the 3 of them, whatever works?
They work cooperatively, but if you've got a center, you want the puck on his stick while guys are cutting through the slot, or Draisaitl is off at a bad angle to the side of the net. I've watched so intensely Edmonton the last 2 years. They whistle passes through the slot, through the traffic, through all the defensemen, etc., and he get it onto Draisaitl's stick. He gets a shot off so bloody quick, it's unbelievable.
How does it get through all that traffic?
I concur. That doesn't always get through, but it gets through. He scores so many goals from bad angles, and he's got such a quick release, such a flick, and he moves. That's the other thing. He's not stationary. He's here, but as the defenseman shift, he jumps into the slot in front of the net. As the defensemen are moving, he's moving, and McDavid sights it, puts it on his stick, and he just tips it.
Amazing.
He's unique. I saw him when he first came into the league. He's from Germany. He came here. I saw him at the sports arena. He started his career, he might have been maybe 20 for Bakersfield in the American Hockey League. And he came and he played here against the San Diego Gulls a couple times the first 3 weeks of his career, and Edmonton brought him up. And I saw him very early. It might have been the opening home game of the season for the Gulls, or maybe the first week. I said, boy, this guy is gifted. This guy can fly. This guy is crafty. And it was gone. And now he's a superstar up there. McDavid is legendary. Draisaitl's right there with him.
Yeah, cool. I'm happy for Edmonton. But, it's funny how, on the political level, there's a lot of Canada-America friction right now these days. But I would like to see Edmonton win, I'm not hating on the American team, Florida, but, the Canada hasn't won the Cup, you said, since what, 93?
93, the Guy Carbonneau Montreal Canadiens against the LA Kings.
Yeah, so, and the Oilers are sort of like West Coast, kind of, sort of. So I'm going to count them as a team I'm rooting for, too.
Fashion critics out there, Hockey Hotline is open. I'm sure somebody's got an opinion about what I'm wearing, but why I'm wearing it.
Okay, move your microphone off to the side. I want to break this down. Look at you, tie the strings like a bow tie. I've never seen anyone actually do it that way.
That's what they do in hockey.
They do?
Yes.
Oh, well, they call them sweaters in hockey, though, right? Don't they? The
jersey sweaters, yeah.
Okay.
This is the crust.
Okay, well, yeah. All right.
I'll be glad to educate you anytime over Molson's Canadian. Hey, by the way, we got one other hockey story here. This is just breaking. This is really different. This is going to change hockey. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, the Medicine Hat Tigers. I want to know more about this.
Medicine Hat Tigers are one of the elite teams in the Western Hockey League, the Canadian Junior Leagues, which is made up of the teams in Western Canada, the Ontario Hockey League, and the Quebec League. Medicine Hat has a young forward by the name of Gavin McKenna. He's not eligible for the draft yet. He's got one more year left of junior hockey. Then he can be drafted. Gavin McKenna is headed across the border. He might leave Medicine Hat, and he might enroll at Michigan State. And why is this a story? The NCAA, which always loses lawsuits, lost a lawsuit 6 months ago, 8 months ago. We've talked about it, in which Canadian junior players from those three leagues can now cross the border and get signed to play at an NCAA school.
Cool.
Prior to that, the NCAA had this embargo about those guys are pros because when you play in the junior leagues in Canada, you get a cost of living stipend to pay rent or food, whatever. And the NCAA said, you're violating the amateur rule. Well, now we got the NIL and everything. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The whole landscape has changed. So players sued, like 200 players did a class action suit against the NHL or against the NCAA, and they lost. The NCAA lost. So players from junior hockey are now allowed to come across the border, and if they academically qualify, enroll in Division I hockey. And they are saying that McKenna, the window opens August 1st. They're saying McKenna is going to be the first marquee hockey player to come play in college hockey. And they're of the opinion that if you play at the NCAA level, your training is going to be more intense. Coaching is better. You're not riding buses all the time across Western Canada, Medicine Hat, Alberta. That league stretches from Saskatchewan to British Columbia. You're on the bus all the time. This kid is going to be they think is going to be the first name player to come across the border. He'd probably play 1 year at Michigan State, slated to be the number one pick next year. As a 17-year-old this year, kid scored 40 goals, had 97 assists. Medicine Hat just got to the Memorial Cup finals where they lost to the London Knights, which the Memorial Cup is the championship playoff of the top teams in each of the three junior leagues. This kid might wind up at Michigan State. And you're going to see in other college hockey programs, Minnesota Duluth, Minnesota, some of these other big-time programs are going to lure other players because now some of these schools also have NIL money, and this kid's going to make more money if he goes to Michigan State under the NIL banner than the cost of living stipend that he got playing in Western Canada. So it bears watching. It's good for the players, so you like that, being a bleeping capitalist. It's good for the players, but I think it's going to be bad for junior hockey. I think it's going to raid junior hockey. A lot of kids are going to come across the border and try to come play in the States because better paydays there, maybe a little bit better coaching too. But that'll be interesting. But that's the story that was breaking in the early morning hours today. This kid, Gavin McKenna, is supposed to be a real star.
Doesn't it? Do you ever notice that there's historically in America, there has been like this romantic feeling about the amateur player, and they try to treat them differently than the professional player. But those lines are so blurred right now, and I just think we just need to get over it. For these players, like you said, they're going to be making more money, potentially more coaching. And if that means that the junior hockey league in Canada is going to suffer, well, then the junior hockey league in Canada needs to step up and provide a way to be able to pay their players more or offer more benefits or something to compete. So I think this is good that he's going and making this transition. And by the way, even before NIL, it was a farce to really think of the purity and sanctity of the amateur athlete in NCAA when there was billions of dollars rolling through March Madness and the football and everything else. So it's just a farce. I mean, just get back to reality, offer the best opportunity for these players, and then they will go where the money is.
I think you're correct in that assessment. As long as we have structure in NIL and everybody operates by the same set of principles.
That's fair.
And that we also have to have a structure and control of the transfer portal. So that's where we are. Hockey Hotline is open. If you're an NHL fan, want to talk about what I'm wearing, talk about the Oilers, talk about the Panthers. Am I the only one that knows where Medicine Hat, Alberta is? Feel free. Jump on board. Hockey Hotline is open. Yes, Medicine Hat, Alberta.
I mean, it sounds like
it's in northern Alberta. It's an Indian territory.
Well, that's what I thought. It sounds like a tribal reservation.
Yeah, exactly. That's where we are. All things Hockey Hotline is open. Last topic on the table, because we cover everything, here comes the notebook.
The high-speed sports wire, and we've been adding stuff late.
Big weekend horse racing. Here comes the Belmont Stakes. Now, it's going to be run at Saratoga in upstate New York. Here comes the last jewel of the Triple Crown, and the top two horses are going to go head-to-head again. We're talking about Sovereignty, which won in the mud at the Kentucky Derby. We're talking about Journalism, which thundered to a victory at the Preakness in Pimlico, and they're going to go head-to-head in the third jewel. The wild card in the race is a Bob Baffert 3-year-old. Rodriguez did not run because of sickness in the Derby and did not run in the Preakness because of injury, is now totally healthy and is going to run. So we got 3 going to post. It's only a 9-horse field in Saratoga on Saturday. It's going to be worth watching. Tennis, changing to the guard. I mean, the mega names for the most part on the men's side are gone. You've got Novak Djokovic and his attitude still there. He is the last of the stars at the peak of his career. And you got Alcaraz there, and you got Jannik Sinner. Those are the top 3 guys on the men's side of the tour. Women's side has gone through a tremendous transition. Aryna Sabalenka has become the dominant one on the women's side. Coco Gauff is knocking at the door. Madison Keys is knocking at the door. Women's side does not have what I'd say the standout stars that the men's do, but there is a change in the guard going on there. PGA LIV Golf. You need to do a better job. Why have you not solved this merger conversation? We're now in our 3rd year. And there was another shot fired across the bow by the LIV. The LIV just signed the top U.S. amateur to a 3-year contract. Kid from Arizona State University, Jose Ballester. He's from Spain. He just won the USA Amateur Championship. He had the opportunity to go play on the Korn Ferry Tour, which is the young developmental tour, to get his tournament card. Turned it down. Going this weekend to play in the LIV, 3-year contract. So they're still spending money and still taking players over there, even though nobody is watching. SDFC. What a great first year they've had. And now they don't have Chucky Lozano. The Mexican star is out indefinitely. Hamstring injury. El Tri, the Mexican national team, wanted him to come to Mexico City. SDFC said, Chucky, you can't go because of the hamstring injury. You owe us to play the second half of our schedule here, not go down there and risk. He has been taken off the Mexican roster side and will not play for Team Mexico in the Gold Cup, which is really too bad. Speaking of U.S. soccer, we've talked about this 3 weeks in a row, and it's getting worse and worse. Now, they're getting ready for a couple of friendlies, and then they're moving in to the Gold Cup, Team USA. They are down 13 players who are not participating right now because of a wide variety of injuries that they got playing for their professional clubs other places. We had talked extensively about Christian Pulisic, Gio Reyna. They just lost their goaltender, Zach Steffen, knee injury, playing for the Colorado Rapids in MLS. They lost Sergino Denst, who was injured in playing in Europe, has come back, failed his physical. Doctors have said you will not play for Team USA this entire summer, so you can be ready when we go towards the World Cup and the qualifying in 2026. They're just really struggling, and obviously Mauricio Pochettino is taking shots from everybody about roster construction and why are these guys not here, et cetera. So that's a big problem. And the third item, we talk about names, we talk about stories, we talk about trades, we talk about controversies, and we don't always have time, nor is it front and center, about guys who do a really good job in other situations. The last logo is the University of California at San Diego, UCSD. Their athletic director has just retired, just stepped aside. His name is Earl Edwards. He has done such an unbelievable job in a major market in the shadow of the pro teams with zero recognition at all up until this past year. Earl Edwards has spent 25 years as the athletic director at UCSD. He's just retired. He's going to become a consultant for the chancellor of that great university over there on the hill overlooking the ocean. But his legacy is he took them from Division III to Division II, where they got really good, and then guided them into the Big West Conference in Division I in basketball. We all know where everybody was in April last year. They were at the NCAA tournament, both men and women. Earl Edwards has decided to step away after 25 years, taking them from small to somewhat big time. Really good gentleman. So we salute the man. John, the podium belongs to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, Earl Edwards, man, what a track record. I mean, who can say that they've taken a university from D3 to 2 to 1 and into the NCAA tournament for both men and women?
Yep.
I mean, it's just remarkable. The university, UCSD, I mean, I went there in the 80s when they were D3, and it's a great school, great campus, great vibe there, and really tremendous resources. So the fact that they have now jumped all into D1 sports, I mean, they're world-class in research and academics. Now they're world-class in sports. And I'm just so happy as an alumni. But I want to go back and talk about Team USA. I get that these guys are injured, or, from playing for their club team or whatever, but how do these guys get paid? I mean, they get paid by their club. They get paid by Team USA, I guess, for tournaments, but are they getting paid for all these practices? And then if they decide not to participate, does their pay get docked?
Well, Christian Pulisic gets mega money from AC Milan, but he gets a package as a side contract for Team USA, and he is still rostered on Team USA. He's not on the active roster because they're going to shut him down because he's had so many injuries playing in Italy this past year. So they are compensated, but the bulk of their big money is obviously playing for Juventus in Italy or AC Milan, or playing the English Premier League, etc.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I was just wondering, like, if you beg out, there's got to be some provision in the contract. The more practices you show up and tournaments you're in, the more you make. I mean, that only makes sense. And then, SDFC, man, I'm just so happy for this program. And a bummer for Chucky Lozano. I mean, he's a really talented player. I mean, we're really lucky to have him here.
He's had 2 hamstring injuries, so that kind of is a red flag.
Yeah, and I mean, he missed like about a month and a half with that first one. So we may not see him again until later in the summer.
Yeah, second half of the season for sure. So that's all things there. You got opinions? That's Fan Forum's chat box is open. Feel free. Jump on board, take this thing anywhere you want. We do sports talk the way it should be done. That's why we're here doing this podcast. And by the way, for those of us who weren't with us on Monday, where the hell were you? We ought to be here. You ought to be there. Those of us that weren't around on Monday, we just rocketed through the 8,000 mark in subscribers. What we've done in 2 years, that's on you. Thanks again for being part of this team. 8,000 subscribers just on the YouTube channel. And then if you add on all the other social platforms, we're talking to a lot of people every Monday and every Thursday at 1:30.
We are. I mean, it's a ton of fun to do this podcast with you, Hacksaw. Hey, but just as a crazy aside, you were on the Coach John Quinteras podcast. Was it yesterday?
Yes.
How'd that go?
It was cool. We talked. I only had about a half-hour window to do it. And we talked baseball and we talked Aztecs. We talked a little bit about history of sports talk radio. And John has started his podcast over there. He does it 3 times a week, I think at 9 a.m. And you can find it on the YouTube channel. And I promised John we would bring him back in here, give him the opportunity to sit at the table and be on our podcast. So it was cool. He and I were on the same wavelength all the time. And, people bark. You ought to be doing sports talk radio. Well, that'd be kind of cool if we could, but we're in a different world, different landscape right now. But it was nice to get the invitation, and I'm going to return favor and get him back on here.
Yeah. It's always been terrific when Coach John Quinteras is here. So we look forward to having him. And his show is doing really well. I mean, he's building his subscriber base. It's nice to see all the 690, 1090 guys doing your own thing.
Sidebar question. You just praised all things up on the hill at UCSD.
Yeah.
Academic institution, Ivy League history type. How the hell did you get in there?
Well, I'll tell you what, if I applied,
you're not a legacy guy, are you?
No. I was a freshman in 82. And so it was a lot less competitive then. So if I had to apply now, there's just no way that I get in. But you know what, UCSD, I think last time I checked on the U.S. News and World Report, they stack rank all the universities. I think they're like number 28 or 29 in the whole United States. And if you look at just public universities, they're easily in the top 10, if not the top 5.
They know you're rich. They know you live in a gated community, and his castle will become knocking on your door for more money.
Well, we'll hold them off. We'll beat them off with a stick, I guess. I'm paying enough in taxes to cover that.
This podcast is brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they got materials, you want ideas. Just go to Dixieline.com to find out all the things they have to offer. John, Fans Forum chat box is open, ready, set, go.
Okay, let's go here to the one Mr. Smith. He goes, I love the Aaron Rodgers dynamic. If he's got anything left in the tank, he'll leave it on the field. If the haters can put it aside, he'll take the Steelers a long way. I love it.
I concur. I do think he's got gas left in the tank. I will be interested to see the mental adjustment it will take. Playing for Mike Tomlin, it's a different structure in Pittsburgh, but they got great defense, and obviously they run the football a lot, and they got really good tight ends, and now they got DK Metcalf, and I tend to think that AR is better than anybody they've had there since Ben Roethlisberger, and that's a long time ago, so I'm going to be fascinated by that.
I still think this is going to be like very dramatic. I think when the games are on TV, I think the cameramen are going to have a field day, just getting all the reactions on the faces of Tomlin and of Rodgers. But yeah, he can still play, but he's fully recovered from that Achilles, right?
Yes.
So, okay, then we'll give it a shot. We'll see how it goes. But it's really only a 1-year deal, right?
Well, 1 year, but who knows if it evolves into a second year. If he has a good year, I think he wants to go out on his own terms, but he is going to be there next week for the veterans portion of the OTAs. The mandatory portions begin. He won't be vacationing in Greece or Egypt or wherever the hell he went last year with the Jets. We move on.
We'll follow up on that. What's the story on Kirk Cousins now? Where is he going to land?
They're stuck in Atlanta. I was thinking about that driving over. Atlanta gave them a mega contract, and then there was a roster bonus, and they paid that. There's a total outlay of $37 million, and he's not the starter. But at the end of the day, Michael Penix will get the opportunity to start, but is he productive? Does he stay healthy? What happens if he goes down? Maybe you're lucky you still got Kirk Cousins there, even though it's an expensive contract. Because if he had gone to Pittsburgh, and that was a rumor a week ago, and this whole Kirk Cousins rumor might have triggered Aaron Rodgers to say, I'm in. I'm going to the 412 area code. Maybe the Cousins thing is what led Rodgers to make this announcement at this point. But Cousins is the backup for the time being, just to see if Michael Penix can get the job done. He played pretty well at the end of a lost season for Atlanta last year.
Well, I mean, if Cousins hypothetically went to Pittsburgh, I mean, Aaron Rodgers would have nowhere to go, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's no wonder that he took the job. He made the phone call.
Well, he took it, I think, when the story got out. It was a week ago today. I think we were talking about this hot rumor. Pittsburgh has talked to Atlanta. Okay, next one.
Okay, let's keep moving here. We'll go to Douglas. He goes, hey, what are the odds that the Ducks move to Los Angeles and play in the Clippers arena?
No, I don't think so. The Ducks, the Samuele family is really entrenched in Orange County in terms of business activity. I don't know if you've been up around where the Honda Center, the old pond is. They've taken a lot of the parking lots, the Samuele family, and they're building an entertainment district out. Restaurants, buildings in that part of that parking lot. They're really making that area more than just an arena for the NHL team. Samuelis are really ahead of the curve. And the most interesting thing, across the street, Artie Moreno's got nothing accomplished in terms of building out anything around Angel Stadium. And yet the Samuelis have been active. So, no, they're not. The Ducks would never move. And again, that's because of Orange County ownership. They have a marketing campaign that's really cool. It says, we are Orange County. Not, in reference, we are not the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. We are Orange County.
Yeah, that's great. That's terrific.
That's really cool.
Wasn't it Orange Country?
Orange Country.
Yeah. And I mean, if they were to go up to LA, I mean, it would just kill all of that. It would be like it was a lie, the whole Orange Country.
Now, Samuelis are unbelievably philanthropic in Orange County. Doug, thank you for the note. Go ahead, John. Next one.
Okay, let's go here to Joe. And Joe always loves responding in email to your best 15 in one man's opinion. Joe says, hey, what's the latest on the A's, Rays, and White Sox future stadium prospects?
Well, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg has begun the renovation of the hurricane-damaged Tropicana Field. The Rays are playing outdoors right now at the Yankee Spring Training Stadium. It's a nice little minor league stadium, but it's minor league and it's open air and it's outdoors. The Rays will be back in Tropicana Field, which will be done, and there'll be 2 more years left on that contract. And in terms of what Tampa Bay does going forward, starting in 2028, there's no financing at this point for a new baseball stadium on the other side of the bridge. The deal they had in effect just kind of fell apart. The Athletics are obviously in Sacramento for 3 years. I guess I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, here we are, John, in June. They have not broken ground in Vegas yet. So they're talking at least 3 years in Sacramento. But don't you have to start to actually turn the dirt and actually put the steel in the ground to get this thing built? So that's that situation. You know, the whole infrastructure in Chicago is weird. They got the old Comiskey Park. The Bears are looking to build a new stadium. Illinois, the state of Illinois, Chicago, we're not paying for it. So that whole thing is stalled. It is interesting as a story that just broke probably late last night. Jerry Reinsdorf, who owns the White Sox, or as I call them, the Blight Sox, Jerry Reinsdorf has signed an option clause to give one of the minority holders a 3-year window in which they can actually purchase majority control of the White Sox, not immediately. I think it might be in 2027, 28, or 29. There's an option for one of the big minority holders to step forward and buy the bulk of the franchise from Jerry Reinsdorf. Jerry Reinsdorf is not a young man by any stretch. So there will be new ownership coming, I think, with the White Sox probably in the next year and a half or so. Good questions, Joe. Thank you for following.
Yeah, and it's interesting because isn't there a new Comiskey Park? And
That's
how new is it? It's like 20 years old,
probably
maybe?
At least, yeah. And it needs renovation, but everything needs renovation. Nobody's got any money.
Yeah, and then by the way, when you were talking about the A's earlier today about the season ticket sales and everything, I remember hearing a story about a guy that he went and bought 4 season tickets. He lived in Sacramento. He was all excited, and he spent over $20,000 for these 4 seats. And the seats have I think a suggested ticket price of like $80 or $90. He can't even sell them on the open market for like $40 because when you go to those ticket exchange places, no one's interested in them. So the whole thing in Sacramento is just turned into a dump. But in Vegas, it's still not really a done deal, right? I mean, as far as the stadium goes,
I think the financing's in place, but I want to, I don't know if it's tied up with EPA stuff, Environmental Protection Agency. I don't understand why they've not broken ground on this yet. Although Rob Manfred's of the opinion they're going to be there. That stadium will get built, but they're not moving any dirt yet. And these things don't get built in 15 minutes.
Do you think they could play at Allegiant Stadium? Could that work?
No, that the dimensions to play indoors in a football stadium, no. And I don't think they want to play outdoors in the AAA minor league Las Vegas.
Well, remember when the Dodgers played at the Coliseum?
Yeah.
And they had that big net in left field.
Screen.
Yeah.
And then Wally Moon would hit the moon shots over the short left field fence. I mean, that was a weird construction, but that was only for a short period of time. Okay, Joe, thank you.
Okay, let's keep on moving here, and we'll go to this is a great one here. This is from XX Revolution, and he says, "Hey, I got my college diploma today."
Yay!
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
This is graduation time. Okay, let's keep on moving here, and we'll go to Gary. And Gary says, "Hey, Padres gritty wins despite the loss last night shows we can play up to our potential against a good team. Fernando's body language is because he wants to be hitting better. Doesn't feel like dancing right now.
He doesn't look right. John and I talked about this on the Monday podcast. I don't know. He's not hit since he got hit on the left forearm. We're going to wake up and find out that he might have had some type of minor fracture there, and he continues to play. He just doesn't look right at home plate, and his mechanics, and now his stride, and his front foot, it just seems so out of sync. But he's continued to ball in right field. He's catching everything. It's just weird. I mean, the fact he hit 184 for the entire month of May. That is, I think it's the worst month of his entire career. And this guy, we were using the word MVP.
Oh yeah.
In relation to El Nino. from opening day on until he got plunked May 2nd. So only time will tell as to what's fact or what's fiction with him, but he continues to play. So it may not be a major injury, but he sure doesn't look correct to me at home plate.
Yeah, he doesn't. And like he tops the ball all the time and gets these choppers to the left side, So clearly the mechanics aren't right. In the podcast you did with the coach, he said he thinks Tatis wants to play shortstop, didn't he? Did he say that? What's your take on that opinion?
I've never heard that. He's really good. He's a platinum Gold Glove guy in right field. And you got a shortstop in Bogey. And Bogey's got a long-term contract. So I don't see that transaction taking place. And I've not heard that publicly. And coach has got his own contacts, so maybe there's some truth there, but I've never heard that from Fernando at all.
One funny thing about last night's game is when the Padres went up 5-0, and my buddy in San Francisco said, "Oh, the game's over." He goes, "We haven't scored more than 4 runs in like 3 weeks." And then sure enough, they end up scoring 6. And
a bunch of walks, and Jason Adams has been overused, like Suarez has been overused, like Morion has been overused, and it's the nature of getting only 5 innings from your starting pitching. I mean, Pivetta was throwing BBs. Pivetta struck out all those guys, and he retired 13 in a row, I think, at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, he couldn't get anybody out.
Exactly.
It was just his whole game went away. The Giants, let's be realistic here. This is one of the really anemic teams in baseball, John. They're averaging 2.2 runs per game. And they just have no batting order at all. They made 6 roster changes yesterday, trying to change them. Buster Posey, it's not that he's guessed wrong on players. He's got some guys who just are not playing real well. Okay, move on.
Moving on, talking about coach here is another comment from Casey. He goes, "Hacksaw, first off, you were awesome yesterday on Coach Quintero podcast. Now, who do you think gets the 2 expansion teams in Major League Baseball?"
Well, there's been a lot of dialogue there, but baseball's not ready to move on this at all. Baseball still has to solve the stadium crisis in Tampa. According to Rob Manfred, the stadium situation will be resolved in Las Vegas. They do have a new TV contract that they got to negotiate, and they got to find another network partner since ESPN is walking away from it at the end of this year. 2028, they're going to try to change the entire TV structure. So there's a lot of things going on there from a business standpoint before they consider expansion. To spin back to your question, I keep hearing Nashville all the time. Portland has put together a consortium of baseball people, and they have the land right on the Willamette River to build. But is Portland too small a market? Nashville could be a regional market. Charlotte has been out there, and Charlotte would be, I tend to think, a pretty good regional Dixie market. Montreal is out there, but for some reason, baseball does not seem interested in going back to Canada at this point. I tend to think everything has changed economically in the province of Quebec. I think Montreal would be big time, but so those are the ones off the top, and I don't think it's going to happen in the next 15 minutes.
Well, if all the professional sports, which is most likely to expand? NFL, NBA, MLB?
Well, the rumor about the NBA to Seattle, a lot of legs on that. Rumor about the NHL, there's talk Atlanta and Houston more than anything else. A little bit of talk about the new arena in Quebec City, but Gary Bettman, Bill Daley, they're in the middle of trying to do an extension right now on the collective bargaining agreement. So again, I don't think that's going to happen real quick either.
Okay. All right. Let's keep moving here. Let's go to our good friend John. And he says, "Hey, last night's game between the Oilers and Panthers was an epic battle. How can one not be riveted by that game? As for the Padres, like every other team, they need some pitching and another bat. Will they make a deal with Red Sox? And will they give Trevor Bauer a call? He just got poor taste in women. Hopefully he doesn't know any bookies."
John obviously has opinions on virtually everything that I write about, which is okay. The situation with the Padres and the Red Sox, I was told that it's hit a wall. Boston needs immediate players. If they're moving Duran, John, they need immediate players. And those immediate players have to be, I was told, Luis Arraez. I can't see the Padres doing that. Would they move Duran to rent an established starter? But that starter But also, by the same token, only counts as one win. You got to win again. Now, if it goes up 2-0 Oilers, if they can win on Friday, and then the pressure is really going to be on the Florida Panthers. But best of 7 is really great. Callum, you like my jersey, my hoodie? Okay.
I'm killing you here right now.
You're killing. John keeps running into the equipment and knocking us off the air. If it's not John, it's our mascot, the beagle sniffer, running into things too. We apologize for the technical flaws.
Let's go to some social media here, and let's see who we got on our list. And okay, let's go here to a comment from Indelicious93. He says, "Hey, every time you talk Padres, we end up getting better. Keep hating on us. You're helping us out. 1 game behind first in the division."
Keep hating on you. My goodness. I just talked about the greatness of the discovery of Gavin Sheets. I talk about the Bulldogs that they got in their starting rotation, but I'm also dealing with the reality. You got a hole in left field. You got a hole behind home plate. They don't have assets to use as a trade. And, obviously they've been shut off probably by what I was told in Boston when Boston said, we want to rise. Well, you're not going to do that. I'm not hating. I'm just giving you the facts. Why does it seem like I'm hating? I don't understand the rationale of Padre fan.
They're fair weather, and they don't like any criticism. And, you're the one that tells it like it is, like your old buddy Howard Cosell. And they just think you're like, you always had that one video where it's like, Padres, you've got a problem, and people still repeat that in the Instagram comments. And so they think that you're a Debbie Downer, a hater, you're trying to drag. And some people think because you hate the Padres so much, this is what they think, that you are therefore a Dodger lover or a secret Dodger lover.
How can that be? Because I sat there and said the Dodger way doesn't work anymore, and that led to a fuselage of all kinds of people critical of my criticism of the Dodger way doesn't work anymore. So am I a Dodger hater or a Padre hater, or am I just dealing with the topics on the table and the facts as we have them? I did a commentary about the Dodger way doesn't work anymore because of the plethora of injuries, all these 17 guys on the disabled list and all the surgeries. But if I do a commentary that's up there 3 months ago and people are sampling it now and say, well, you're hating on the Dodgers are in first place. Well, the commentary was based on the facts we had 3 months ago. No?
Well, yeah, there is some of that where it's dated. But I think in the end, a lot of podcasters are a lot of them are like big fans of a team, right? And so you are a longtime professional sports journalist.
Not everybody buys that.
Well, you're gonna lay it out, and you're gonna give them the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think a lot of people just don't want to hear that. So, some people, I guess, like the Homer podcast, the Homer sports talk show guy, but that's never been you.
Well, but you root for the home team, but if there's glitches with the home team, you do have to talk. You do have to be honest, don't you?
Of course, you have to be honest. Yeah.
Okay.
So I know I'm with you on this. I think some of these people they're just reacting on social media.
Indo, hey, thanks for participating. We'll try to serve you better, but we'll still be honest. Go ahead, John.
Okay, let's go here to talk a little NHL from the real Mr. Nobody. Edmonton needs a goalie.
Well, Stuart Skinner's streaky. There's no doubt about that. He's really streaky. But, boy, when he's on, he's unbelievable. And if you watch closely, the saves he made in traffic in that third period when they had to stay in the game, and then what he did in overtime, I mean, he is red hot. And that's a much better Edmonton team today than it was a year ago today, where Skinner could be really streaky. They are much deeper on the defense. They got all 3 and 4 lines that they rotate through there that either check the hell out of you, will hit you, or can score goals, will set up other guys to score goals. It's a really complete team. And Chris Knobloch, the coach, is just what a phenomenal couple of years he's had in terms of coming in and actually taking the thing to the next level. So I freak out because I think Skinner sometimes around the net is kind of sloppy and pucks get loose and suddenly they're in the goal behind him. But, boy, he's made some monstrously big saves, much like Bobrovsky did last night for a large chunk of that game, too.
Now, on an NHL roster, number one, how many goalies do they keep on a roster?
2 active roster, and there's always a third in emergency.
That was my next question, is that there was an emergency guy. So that makes sense.
Yeah, usually they bring up the young guy from the American Hockey League, and he won't dress. He'll sit there. And he'll be the third guy. And obviously he'll practice on the off days. He does heavy duty practice just to be in game shape in case somebody gets hurt.
But they don't bring like a defenseman to put on all the pads. Like, in baseball, the emergency catcher is like an outfielder or something.
Well, but you dress, I think it's 23 for a game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you've got 4 lines, which is 12 right there. You have 3 pairs of defensemen, which is at least 6, sometimes 4 pairs, which is 8, and then 2 goaltenders. And then now what they do is Edmonton, or everybody in the playoffs, you bring up some of your top minor leaguers, and they call them black aces, and they will practice on the off days, the full go. Their emergency. If Edmonton loses Evander Kane and gets hurt, they'll take one of the young guys that they brought up from their American Hockey League team, and he'll plug in at the back of the roster, and he'll get the chance to play. So everybody's got, during the Stanley Cup, everybody's probably got 5 to 8 black aces, the young guys who will practice and participate.
That's actually cool, because even if they don't play, it's a great learning experience for these young men to be in a pressure-packed environment like that they hope to be playing in one day. So no one loses.
Oh, take notes. Exactly. No, I wholeheartedly agree. Okay, we move on. Thanks, Rome.
Okay, let's talk about the Angels. This is from Mike Berg. The Angels are a disaster, and why Trout has stayed with them defies common sense. The dude literally gave up his career. Thank God Shohei left that dumpster fire when he did.
It is surprising. It's surprising that in the era they had Trout and Ohtani, and then obviously the arrival of Rendon, and Rendon never had a history of injuries in Washington, and he got here and he's just been hurt nonstop. And that whole thing is blown up in their face. And then they lost Ohtani. But Trout's loyal. Trout's special. I think he really loves Orange County, does a lot of charitable stuff. He just is elected, this is where I want to be, and I like the lifestyle, etc. And hey, at the end of the day, where the hell would you want to live in the winter? Anaheim or New Jersey? So he's a unique guy. Hey, very honest, and I dealt with him just peripherally, but I respect him. Can't stay healthy, got to stay on the field. And I think the other thing for the reality for the Angel fan, it's really hard to rebuild. They didn't get real bad real quick. This thing has been eroding, and now you try to fix it. And their everyday lineup is really, really young. It's hard. And so you rent veterans, and, they get Jorge Soler comes in, hits home runs. Now he's hurt, and they just can't keep these guys on the field. I do think there's a foundation there. It takes forever to build pitching. I don't think they have enough pitching. Maybe there's more young pitching coming, but they're not going to lose 99 this year, but hell, they could lose 85, that's not much progress.
Well, I think you can make a good argument that the Angels have had a lot of bad luck.
Oh, yeah.
But even with all that bad luck, they've also made a lot of terrible decisions.
Oh.
And so it's just been a firestorm of everything.
Yeah, everything has gone wrong that could go wrong, including the tragic death of 2 of their frontline pitchers, and then just the siege of injuries. And then obviously mistakes, and the mistakes that Arte Moreno made, giving the volume of money he gave to a drug-troubled Josh Hamilton. Say, how is that humanly possible? You'd ever think that this could ever work out, considering that Josh had all these problems, all these other places. So the intention was good to try to put a winner on the field. The execution has failed really badly. And then once you go down the drain to build it back up, it takes forever.
Well, speaking as a Padre fan, I can attest to that.
Yeah, but the Padres can't remember the Padres ever losing 99 in a season and just being totally incompetent. They've had disappointing seasons, but not that gross.
They must have lost 100 games in a season, haven't
Probably,
they?
Yeah, maybe once or twice.
Like, I mean, if you were to go back into the 70s, the early 70s, of when they were brand spanking new, and then even in the late after the 98 World Series, they purged the roster, and those early 2000s teams,
90 lost seasons.
Yeah.
Okay, we move on.
Okay, let's talk a little NFL here, and this is with Tistic, and he says, "Hey, we're talking about Travis Hunter. He goes, some receivers are refined coming out of college. Pat Bryant from Illinois, drafted 3rd round by the Broncos, is a great example. But he ran a 4.6140 at the combine, so there's that. Hugely different draft values. It'll be fun watching and comparing this year's rookie offensive playmakers."
I think the fascinating part about the draft is you go to the combine and everybody gets enthralled with the guy that runs 4.32. You say, holy cow. But is that 4.32 because he's a track guy and a sprinter? Can he hold on to the football? Can he run precise routes, etc.? That's only coaching and time will only tell there. Then there's the other guy that comes in and runs a 4.59, and you say, well, that's not fast enough. Well, but if he's a 4.59 guy that runs precise routes, has great hands, and is tough, he's an inside slot guy. And those guys have great value. Give me a name. Julian Edelman.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Those type of guys.
Yeah.
So you find all these components in guys that play different roles with your team. Big tight ends. These guys blast block, they're H-backs, they're wham blockers. Those guys are good for teams that run the football. You got tight ends go down the seam, the George Kittles of the world, who are great. You can't cover because they got an extra gear and they're big and they got good hands. So there's all types of different components of the player you're drafting. Your left tackle could be a big stud aircraft carrier with reach and all that, with great feet, or you can get a guard who's small and undersized, but it's a former NCAA wrestling champion who knows leverage, and he'll block you into the backfield. So I mean, it's fascinating from a player personnel standpoint. I had conversations with Bethard and Billy Devaney, who was one of his lead scouts when I was the voice of the Chargers. Just fascinating to hear how this works, how this fits within the scheme of what you're going to run. And you need 3 different types of tight ends, or you have all these different types of wide receivers who have different strengths, etc. And then, by the way, coach them up.
You remember when the 49ers had Ronaldo Nehemiah?
Yeah, track star. And he didn't work out. No, but he for a couple of years, he caught passes, but it was just the bloody threat. Willie Gault, the Olympic sprinter with the Raiders and the Bears. Holy cow. I mean, you come in the line of scrimmage, and those corners and safeties were just scared out of their shoes that this guy was going to blow by him. But sometimes he dropped the ball. Sometimes he wouldn't run the price route. And so it's interesting just to see the philosophy of player personnel acquisition. Okay.
Keep on moving here. Here we go. Let's talk more Padres. This is from Dago Baby 760. He goes, talking about you here, always talking negative about the Padres. They're going to be okay. They're not the only team with issues right now. And oh, by the way, they won last night with Kolek on the mound. Just stick to glazing the Dodgers.
Okay, that's fine. Just over to the left, there's a lot of hate. But no, my philosophy is these are the issues we're talking about today. We're going to sit here and we're going to talk about it realistically. They're playing 22 road games in the month of June. Damn, that's hard. They're playing all these road games, and they're starting to play real people. And by the way, they got 2.5 starting pitchers right now because of injuries. Now, you can sit there, and it's great that Stephen Kolek's had some quality starts. But start to start over a month's time, you're going to get more good outings or bad outings. We can talk Randy Vasquez. Guy competes. But the thing about him, we've seen this work of art. He has bad innings, and he can't survive bad innings. So when he goes out there, you're holding your breath and saying, that's great. He got through the batting order the first time around. What the hell's going to happen in the 4th inning? And it happens to him. So I'm just presenting the facts as I view them. Am I hating? No. I'm just telling you what's going on. I would much rather be sitting here having these guys with a record of 42-12, or like the Detroit Tigers, whom I said were going to be really good and have the best record in the American League. But I'm just dealing with the facts that there are right now.
I remember earlier in the season, you were like, oh, Padres off to a great start, but they haven't played anybody. You haven't played the Dodgers yet. You're cleaning up on all these, low-end teams.
Well, they were 14-3 and then went 18-21.
Yeah. Well, you said the same thing about the Chargers last year, too.
Mm-hmm. And what happened? They got punched in the mouth by 7 different teams that beat their brains out the second half of the season. Did they have a good year with Harbaugh? Sure did. But when they played real people rather than the Carolina Panthers, they got smoked.
Told you so. The people on Instagram, they're always laughing about you because they're saying, oh, Hacksaw just loves to be able to say, I told you so.
You just love to pile on me, don't you?
It's great. Okay. We got a couple more here if we can fit them in. Are we doing on time? Okay.
We're going awful long. I'm not going to say anything negative that you screwed up the cameras on this podcast.
No, I did screw up the cameras.
Because you keep bumping into the equipment. My
God. Well, let's just finish this off with our good friend here, Pete Rose. This is from Surf City Bill. And he says, hey, waiting for the player to die to become eligible for the Hall of Fame is just vindictive, low-class way of punishing the player.
Well, Rob Manfred said this past week, though. He said Pete Rose signed the document. He knew it was a lifetime suspension. He knew. So therefore, he was not going to be eligible for the ballot. Then the Baseball Hall of Fame, about a year and a half later in Cooperstown, went to the commissioner's office and said, we're going to change our rule about the ballot. We're going to invoke that if anybody's on the ineligible list, they can't be on the ballot. So that included Pete, that included Joe Jackson, it included anybody and everybody who had bet. So finally, the commissioner, after 3 years of evaluation, said, we'll end the ineligible status of Pete Rose in death. He's now eligible. But the Hall of Fame has not changed its vote. They're now sending it to the Classic Era Committee. And the Classic Era Committee, I think it's 12 people. The Classic Era Committee will say, because they're the one that control who goes on the ballot, they will say, okay, he is now eligible to go on the ballot. But the problem is 10 of the 12 members are former players who are Hall of Famers, and a whole bunch of them were anti-Pete Rose guys. So are they still going to be vindictive in death or allow Pete to actually be placed on the ballot? And I'm just curious, this is a sidebar story, because outside of black and white grainy videos or what we've read or the movie 8 Men Out, nobody really has seen nor paid very much attention to Shoeless Joe Jackson. Shoeless Joe is eligible also, like Pete Rose, to be on the ballot. Is that Classic Committee going to put him on a ballot with Pete Rose? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I think Surf City Bill is right. It is vindictive and it is low class. I mean, especially it's hypocritical now, especially now the MLB is partnering with FanDuel and, they're sharing odds and everything else in the pregame show. I think it's just insane. But, I think more people probably know more about Shoeless Joe Jackson these days from Field of Dreams than they do from anything.
Yeah, concur. And if you just go back and just Google Shoeless Joe Jackson's career stats, you will be awed at his record. Now, again, I grant you, this goes back to the early 1900s. I think he only played 9 years, maybe 10 years. Started with the Cleveland Indians, went from 1909 through 1919, and then they all got expelled from baseball. His statistics are just staggering. At the end of the day, we'll also get into this argument about, well, who the hell else is in the Hall of Fame? You got drunks, you got racists, you got womenizers. Mm-hmm. They're in the Hall. Should not Pete be allowed to be in the Hall? I mean, I'm talking about Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth, and I'm talking about Hack Wilson. I mean, really, and Cap Anson, some really questionable character citizens. They're in the Hall because they were great players, but none of those guys bet on baseball, which goes to the integrity of the game question. Those guys might have been bums as people, how they acted, how they treated people, what they did with people, but they didn't bet on the games that could impact the integrity of the game. I don't know, does that make sense?
If they cared about the integrity of the game, they wouldn't partner with FanDuel, and all these betting sites. So it's hypocrisy. It's similar in some weird way to how we were talking about how the amateur versus the pro status. There's this romantic version of romantic fascination with amateurs. But in this particular case, there's this, the beauty of the game, the pristine of the game, which I get it. But if you're going to go jump in bed with gamblers and take a ton of revenue, I mean, one of those gambling sites is running, this took the place of Bally Sports, right? Mm-hmm. And it's doing the regional sports broadcast.
FanDuel took over the broadcast when Bally went into bankruptcy.
Yeah. So I don't think Major League Baseball has a leg to stand on any of this. I think they just got to let them all in and just tell the full story. And it is vindictive and it's low class. And it's like, come on, man, this is like a grudge mode, like an Old Testament kind of a grudge mode. It doesn't need to be that way.
I'm not going to argue with you anymore because we've reached the limit and I don't want you to dislike me before I leave. That's another discussion for another day. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed this, even though I can't get John to stop running into the cameras when he walks around the studio, stumbling and bumbling. But we hope you've enjoyed this. This is fascinating what we've done. And again, we're saluting you because we just went through the 8,000 mark in subscribers just on the YouTube channel. It's really cool. Want you to tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Give us a thumbs up. Find that button and hit thumbs up. Give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us immensely. This podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. Fix it, build it. We guarantee you will enjoy. Go to Dixieline.com. See all the things that they have to offer. John, quit bumping into things. Have yourself a great sports weekend. We'll see you Monday at 1:30.
Looking forward to it, and we're going to have a clean broadcast on Monday.
Thanks for being with us. You have yourself a great sports weekend, too. Thanks for being part of Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps.
Touchdown, San Diego!
For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.